Hi, everyone. It's great to see you all today and to be with you. It's also been such a pleasure to spend all of these days in the fellowship so far in Taiwan, learning about this island, or islands, rather, I should say. So, yeah, thanks very much for that opportunity. So I'm a multidisciplinary designer and consultant, which means I work across art and communications and peace building, but specifically with a focus on technology. And one little fact about me is that I started university in 2004, which was the same year that Facebook launched in the US. So whether I liked it or not, social media ended up having a huge and formative role in my life and also in my career. So I was really part of this first generation of university students. Back then you had to be part of a university that were making these profiles online and starting to think about how we wanted to present ourselves in these public digital spaces. And back then it was also really kind of bizarre and voyeuristic to exchange in these public digital spaces, which is funny now because we're so used to these things. So I come from humanities. I studied anthropology and literature, but because I was based in the Bay Area, I ended up working at tech startups. My first job in Silicon Valley was working for a game that was making, or a company that was making games for Facebook and other social media platforms. So I was managing a community of players where we had millions of monthly average users, and they were dispersed all around the world. And we were making these really fun and engaging digital spaces for people to interact, coming from super different backgrounds. It was really exciting. I also felt, I have to say, proud to be part of this new generation of technologists. We were making a new type of technology, it felt like, connecting people around the world, launching these creative digital tools, and also like working on these shared platforms. At this time, you could actually build your own apps and launch them onto the social media platforms themselves. So it felt super democratic. The barriers were really low. It was creative and it was hopeful. I'll remind you that actually during these years, Obama's slogan was also hope when he was running the first time for president. So basically a totally different world than the one we were living in now. Okay, so if we flash forward 20 years later to today, we have basically more data, I would say. And I think the mood around technology has changed. So probably specifically for social media, but in general for technology. I mean, it's still useful. We still have fun in these digital spaces, but we're worried about things like screen time, mental health crises, exclusion, censorship, the list could go on and on. And now we also see very clearly, more than we did before, the role that some technologies play actually in stealing our time and eroding our trust and increasing our anxiety and exacerbating polarization, unfortunately. We're seeing around the world rampant mis- and disinformation, increased hate speech, ideological division, fragmented communities, and unfortunately, democratic backsliding. It's not only the fault of technology that we're seeing all of these divisions, but there is a key role that technology plays in amplifying these divisions, and also in dramatically changing our information and communication environments. Okay, I have to admit it took me a little while to let go of my technology ideals, but eventually my perspective evolved. I think it's probably a story familiar to many of us of my generation. And so my career kind of evolved along with this changing perspective. So starting out in the private sector, building the technology, moving to working with international organizations to help them use digital technology in their communications, then moving to analyzing how technology is impacting peace and conflict. And now finally, adding another layer on top of that, thinking about the role of art and design and really our own personal responsibility in creating and facilitating intentional digital tools and digital spaces. So I think it's for sure now that technology cannot reach its hopeful democratic potential on its own. It's also not neutral. This is a key learning that we've discovered in these last 20 years. We formerly thought of technology as this kind of neutral force. We know now that it's not. And then this responsibility is now with us. So it includes being critical, actually, of these systems that prevent tech from being equitable. So currently, I'm working as an independent consultant. I'm advising all sorts of different partners on topics related to design and digital peace building. I work with different types of partners, including researchers and universities, NGOs, government departments, international organizations like the UN, on different projects, collaborating often with mediation and transitional justice and communications teams. A part of this work is also always working with regional experts, so making sure that the kind of general best practices around technology are applied in a locally driven perspective. So the type of work I do could be anything from conducting trainings, building strategies around how to use digital tools, running studies, organizing events, making space for exchange. And I use methodologies like human-centered design, prototyping, asking questions, and listening. Basically, my goal is to help build bridges, so between different groups that share the same values, but they have different terminology or methods that they use. So I help to get the technologists and the peace builders and the policymakers, et cetera, to actually understand each other. So we know that technology can't solve all of our problems. We can forget about this techno-solutionism, but I think it's true that intentional design and facilitation, combined also with our offline efforts in dialogue and communication, they can lead to greater inclusion and democratic deliberation. And so that's what I'm really looking forward to discussing on the panel later today and also the whole day throughout the forum. So thanks very much.